What's interesting about new construction is the fact that this has more or less been easier to complete than the rehabs that I've done in the past. And that sounds crazy, right? We're doing Got another drywall delivery coming in. As you can see, this is for the second floor of the ribbon, so the residential floor. They're hoping to start drywalling the second floor this weekend. But yeah, more material.
So right now, inside this shaft, we're looking at something called unistrut. It's basically just a steel reinforced framing that we'll use to, in this particular case, we'll use to actually support our ductwork that runs straight up to the roof. So this unistrut will hold the weight of that duct inside the shaft, which again, it'll use to supply air to these hallways and also to the common space downstairs. You'll also notice that we had to fire tape and mud any screw penetrations and any drywall seams. This mud and tape system actually is a approved fireproofing method for the shafts. So before they can run any duct in any of this unistrut, they had to tape and mud all of those screw and drywall seam connections. So they've gone through and they've started taping all of the main joints on all the drywall above. They actually hop on stilts and puts them up in the air. So they take their fireproofing tape and they mix it with a little bit of mud, drywall mud, and then they run it on all the seams above. They'll run it on all the seams, then they'll come back and they'll do all the screw heads. Then they'll come back again and they'll tape all the low stuff off their stilts. So they'll hop off their stilts and do all the stuff they can do by, just from a regular height. And then that kind of completes their taping. They'll do all the corners, all the seams here, everything like that. All of our corners will get finished so that they're ready to be painted. Probably receive another coat of mud. Then they'll do some sanding, and then they'll come in and do a primer coat of paint. Yeah. And then further down the road, we'll do a finished coat of paint. So we're gonna take a delivery of an elevator equipment. It's about 8 pallets of material. So instead of letting them charge us to hold it in their warehouse, we're gonna pour an additional slab of concrete in this area for the laydown of their equipment. So we're going to pour a 30 by 30 slab right in this area that I'm standing. And then that's kind of where they're going to set all of their equipment. They want rollable space, to be able to get a pallet jack in here to roll their equipment and their material right into the elevator area where they can install. So again, we don't want to incur an additional cost of storing their material in their warehouse. So we're just going to bring it out here. We're going to try to pour concrete early next week, but part of the thing that has to happen for us to come in here and do that is we've got to regrade this ground that we're standing on. It's pretty uneven in a lot of places. In order to come in here with a piece of machinery and do that, we got to get all the material that's on the dirt floor off of it, just so we have access to the entire space. So that'll be happening next week. Typically with a concrete pour, at least in this particular space, we'll be installing a vapor barrier. So it's like a 6 mil plastic vapor barrier that goes on the ground. There's also 2-inch foam insulation that's installed about 2 feet on the along the exterior wall underneath the concrete. And then there's reinforced woven wire mesh that also goes into the concrete to reinforce for tensile strength in that concrete. That's kind of the process that'll be happening next week. Like I said, right now we're just kind of clearing off material off of the floor to make room for equipment to come in here and start grading. So.
What's going on, folks? Eddie Carrington, Mayor of Flux City, and I am on the 3rd floor of the Ribbon. The drywall is coming along pretty well. They're mudding and taping now. A lot of progress at the site. We have an inspection for certain aspects of the build out on the 2nd floor as well. The sound dampers that were installed need to be inspected before we have drywall installed on that level, but a lot of progress, and this is exciting to see. You know, what's interesting about new construction is the fact that this has more or less been easier to complete than the rehabs that I've done in the past. And that sounds crazy, right? We're doing roughly a 21,000 square feet facility. This does have commercial and residential, whereas, you know, a lot of the homes that I rehabbed were, I don't know, 1,400 square feet or less. But the good thing about these types of projects is the fact that I'm not quarterbacking the work. The work is being quarterbacked or managed by the construction manager. And so they're managing all of the subcontractors and the pricing and you know, the deliveries and security of the site, you know, services, whether it be DTE or you know, DWSD, and of course all of that comes with a cost. But at the end of the day, this development has been a lot less of a headache than a number of my single family properties that I've redeveloped in the past. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. And so I'm hoping that that continues throughout the entirety of this project. But so far, once again, this has been a lot easier to accomplish from the construction side than it has compared to single family properties that I've done in the past. I know you're probably asking yourself, did he really say that? This $8.2 million project, 21,000 square feet, mixed use development, easier than a single family rehab? Yes, for me it has been thus far. And the main reason has been due to the fact that I'm not the one quarterbacking the project. From a construction standpoint, I have a construction manager that does all of the heavy lifting, and for the most part, I'm, you know, paying attention to change orders and scheduling, and, you know, submitting the draw requests to the funding partners, determining colors of walls and flooring. But when it comes to dealing with the subcontractors, that's where the headache comes in play, right? Having to manage multiple subcontractors, making sure that these individuals are showing up, doing the job that you're hiring them to do, consistently, that's not an easy process. And luckily, I'm not necessarily the one having to focus my energy and effort on that aspect of this project, which in turn makes this project easier to manage from my perspective, from the owner's perspective, than my single family rehabs have been in the past. And in the city of Detroit, there's a lack of skilled trades that we have access to, quality skilled trades. And when you're dealing with single family properties, you just never know what you're going to get. And if you do find a good contractor to work with, whether it be HVAC, plumbing, electrical, chances are they're in high demand, and it may be hard to get them consistently to show up to your projects for one reason or another. I have had scenarios where I've had good contractors, but they were good enough to a point where everybody was demanding their service, and so they end up taking on more than they can handle themselves, ultimately burning them out and putting them in a scenario where they can't finish things that they promised to finish or scheduled themselves to be able to complete in a certain time frame. In that time frame, due to the fact that they have so many projects open and active at one point. So in this scenario, when we're dealing with this type of project, these contractors have to be bonded, insured. The construction manager has a bond in place. And so these individuals are coming out and they have to execute. Otherwise, they don't get paid. And the GC, more specifically my construction manager, has to make sure that the subcontractors are doing their job, because if not, we won't be able to pull a draw in order to pay the other subcontractors on the site. And so these GCs and or my more specifically my construction manager is really doing a good job at managing the subs and allowing for me to not have to worry about that aspect. I don't have to put any energy into setting up inspections with the city. I don't have to sync with city services, DWSD. I don't have to reach out to DTE. I do in some aspects, but when it comes to them coming out and installing the line from the alley to the building, that's all on my construction manager to pretty much schedule and kind of line up on their end, as opposed to me doing all of that work. So once again, easier to accomplish this 21,000 square foot building than even rehabbing a single family home. Now, I've had some really good luck rehabbing single family properties in the past, where I've had an all-star team that came in, executed exactly the way we needed them to, but then I've also had some scenarios where it's been the complete opposite. And unfortunately, more so, there have been scenarios where the project rehab didn't go as planned and ultimately costed me money, time, headache, a number of different things that I'm so far able to avoid in this position as a developer who has a construction manager doing most of the heavy lifting. So with that said, I appreciate you chiming in, listening to me ramble. I'm hoping that you're finding true value from these videos. If you're an aspiring developer, I want you to look at me and say, if he can do it, I can do it too. Always remember when you're watching these videos that I came from the single family side, and from me going from a single family background to this opportunity, it was just basically me believing myself, or believing in myself, that I am able to accomplish larger projects. I am able to level up based off of the opportunities that we have access to here in the city of Detroit. And here I am now. And so I want you to see yourself in me and motivate yourself to go bigger. So with that said, thanks for chiming in. Please like, subscribe, comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.